Orania.
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 Why is everyone so obsessed with Orania?
What is happening? Can somebody answer?
Section 235 of the South African Constitution acknowledges the right of cultural groups to self-determination. But what about the Afrikaner enclave of Orania, which also uses race to determine who can be allowed to live in that community?
Are black people allowed in Orania? If you had a daughter, would you let your daughter marry a black person? Do you see me as an equal to you?
In the heart of South Africa's Northern Cape lies a town unlike any other, a place that stays both fascination and controversy. Orania, a self-declared Afrikaner-only enclave that challenges the ideals of the Rainbow Nation. South Africa's apartheid system, introduced in 1948, was a legalized form of racial segregation that left an indelible mark on the nation. Black South Africans face systemic discrimination, forced removals, and limited opportunities, while white South Africans, particularly Afrikaners, held significant power. When apartheid ended in 1994, South Africa became a beacon of hope worldwide. Democracy promised equality, reconciliation, and a new chapter for all its citizens. But not everyone was ready or willing to embrace this vision of unity. Amidst the sweeping political changes, a small group of Afrikaners feared that their language, culture, and way of life would be eroded in the new South Africa. In response, they carve out a town of their own, built upon the ideals of self-determination. They called it Orania. Orania was established in 1991, 3 years before South Africa's first democratic elections. Its founder, Karel Boshoff, envisioned a place where Afrikaners could safeguard their cultural heritage amidst a rapidly changing nation. Boshoff, who was deeply influenced by his father-in-law Hendrik Verwoerd, often referred to as an architect of apartheid, believed that Afrikaners needed a homeland of their own to survive. The settlers purchased a dilapidated workers' camp, initially built for the construction of the Van der Kloof Dam. With limited resources but a strong sense of purpose, they began transforming the site into a town that will become a symbol of Afrikaner resilience. Located along the banks of the Orange River, Orania's remote location was both a challenge and a strategic choice. It offered the settlers a seclusion they needed to develop their vision without outside interference. Today, Orania is home to approximately 2,500 residents, all of whom share a common Afrikaner heritage.
Others are people with a distinct identity, which goes back for at least 300 years in Africa. And we view the particular identity that we have and that we represent as something of value. There are thousands, literally thousands of communities of the size of Orania in South Africa that are only black, and nobody asks questions about that.
The town operates on principles of self-reliance and hard work, with every job, from farming to construction, performed exclusively by its residents. Agriculture forms the backbone of Orania's economy. The fertile lands along the Orange River enable residents to cultivate crops and sustain livestock. This economic model is a source of pride for the town, which claims to thrive without external aid or government grants. Education is central to Orania's mission. Schools here emphasize Afrikaner history, literature, and traditions, all taught in Afrikaans. This focus ensures that future generations remain connected to their cultural roots, even as the world around them changes. Social life in Orania revolves around community and shared values. Festivals celebrating Afrikaner music, food, and history are common, fostering a strong sense of unity among residents.
What we experience is a lot of de facto recognition. you go your way, you do your thing. We're not trying to block it or to.
Despite its peaceful appearance, Orania has faced significant criticism since its inception. Many South Africans view the town as a relic of apartheid, accusing it of perpetuating racial segregation under the guise of cultural preservation. Some argue that Orania's exclusivity contradicts the ideals of South Africa's constitution, which champions equality and diversity. For these critics, the town symbolizes a refusal to move forward from the country's painful past. However, supporters of Orania see things differently. They point out that South Africa's constitution also protects the right to self-determination. They argue that Orania is not about exclusion, but about preserving a unique identity in a multicultural society.
We are from Africa, that's why we call ourselves Afrikaners. We want to remain here. We also want to retain our identity. Now, to retain one's identity is not a racist impulse. We wanted to retain our identity against the English or the British imperialism also, and they're even whiter than we are.
Look forward in 20 years, where would you want Orania to be?
A medium-sized city, where all the different specialized professions and so on are operating, where there are publishing houses and theaters and newspapers and universities and all these kinds of things. If Orania could be that, it will be the essence and the focus of Afrikaner cultural life into the 22nd century as well.
So do you think Orania is misunderstood by people in South Africa and overseas?
I think it's mostly misunderstood in South Africa very often because it is associated with previous kinds of policies of apartheid and all those things. And whenever for the patterns of living in South Africa, people come around and see white people doing menial work in Orania, they think, wow, what's going on? Is this a special kind of racism or whatever? Whilst at the meantime, this is an answer to apartheid, a rejection of the kind of racist expectations that was fed in that era.
Let's simplify it down to questions that I know everyone wants to hear. Are black people allowed in Orania?
Yes, there's no race criterion to access to Orania. At the same time, while the answer is yes, Orania is also a focused Afrikaner community. And there's a very spontaneous reason why for 30 years black people haven't come to live in Orania. They are just historically not Afrikaners. They are not interested in the same things. They're not happy about the same things. And they don't participate in this cultural community, as there are very, very few, if any, white people in rural isiXhosa or isiZulu communities, which are all over South Africa. So by saying yes, I'm obviously saying something unexpected, because the reality has much more dimensions than just this one dimension that is locked in that question.
So we agree that being Afrikaner is not just your race, right?
Absolutely.
So if you and your wife had adopted a black child and you raised this black child as an Afrikaner from eendag until he's 21, technically is that kid not Afrikaans? Because you speak about culture.
Yeah.
Culturally, he should be Afrikaans. Would he be welcome into the town?
Hypothetically, it is exactly true, and hypothetically, yes. But we need to address that question when we meet it concretely. Okay. So the reality is the test. What we are doing is not defining the exclusion.
Okay.
We are defining the inclusion. We are defining those matters that attract people to Orania. There's nowhere in our statute something that says because, or if you are black, or if you are Muslim, or if you are this or that. We have been sort of defined quite clearly. The perception is that we try to keep other people out. Wow, can we not address that perception?
You try to bring people in?
We try to yeah, exactly.
Okay. If you had a daughter, would you let your daughter marry a black person?
I have a daughter. If she wants to, that's not the kind of things that one can prescribe.
Orania's legal standing rests on its use of private property laws, which allow the community to control who can buy or live within its boundaries. This strategy has enabled the town to maintain its Afrikaner-only policy without violating the country's anti-discrimination laws. Over the years, Orania has drawn the attention of journalists, academics, and curious tourists from around the world. To some, the town is a bold experiment in cultural autonomy. To others, it is a stubborn refusal to embrace change. For outsiders, Orania raises questions about the balance between cultural preservation and national unity. Can a community thrive in isolation, or does its existence create deeper divisions within an already fragmented society? As South Africa continues to grapple with the legacies of apartheid, Orania stands as a reminder of the complexities of nation building. It is a place where identity, history, and politics collide, a microcosm of the challenges facing the nation as a whole. Can South Africa achieve unity while allowing cultural enclaves like Orania to exist? Or does Orania represent a step backward in the journey toward reconciliation and equality? The answers may not be simple. But one thing is certain, Orania's story is far from over.